Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to present a study that we conducted at the University of Guanajuato. The purpose of this presentation is to share with you the findings of this study, and the title of this presentation is Behavior, Fluency, and Accuracy during an oral narrative task using WhatsApp, a task design repetition approach. This study was conducted with my colleagues, Irasema, Mora, Pablo, and Martha Lengeling. During this presentation, we will show you how fluency and accuracy behave during the performance of a narrative task that was used to promote learners' oral production on WhatsApp. The idea was to use a digital platform that could be practical for the teacher and students to encourage oral production as they teach and learn English during this pandemic. Because of the transition towards learner-centered approaches, teachers have felt the need to adopt communicative teaching approaches. One example of these approaches is task-based language teaching, which takes tasks as fundamental to developing learners' interlanguage. During our presentation, we will try to answer the following question. Can challenging tasks be used for language performance and achievement? At the end of this presentation, we will return to this question to discuss a possible answer. Okay, so this is the outline of the presentation. We will begin by providing an introduction and discuss some literature on tasks, the dimensions of complexity, accuracy, and fluency, and lastly, task repetition. We will then present information about the context, the participants, and then provide information about the methodology that we followed in the study. We will conclude the presentation by discussing the results that we obtained in the study, and then we will provide some conclusions during which we will suggest some possible future research directions.
Okay, as part of the background for this study, we can say that the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way we currently live and how we carry out academic, work, and personal activities. Considering this, we have witnessed how language educators around the world have relied on distance language learning with the use of emerging technologies, platforms, and apps. Teachers have urgently needed to develop digital literacy to respond to the demands of teaching the language online. In order to respond to the demands of teaching the language online and thus ensure language achievement, teachers have continuously looked for materials and resources. A very popular app has been WhatsApp, which allows users to send text and voice messages, make voice or video calls, and share images, documents, locations, and contact information. Thanks to these functions, this platform is now being used by teachers and learners to maintain synchronous and asynchronous interactions and perform tasks with a view of promoting L2 production. Drawing on evidence which suggests that task repetition is beneficial for developing oral production in speaking and writing tasks, this study investigates the behavior of fluency in monologue narrative tasks on WhatsApp.
So now we're going to look at what is a task, and this is really important to look at. For Willis in 1996, a task are always activities where the target language is used by the learner for communicative purpose or goal in order to achieve an outcome. And task-based learning teaching gives learners a number of valuable aspects, such as confidence, to try out whatever language they know. It also provides experience of spontaneous interaction, which is part of natural communication. The chance to benefit from noticing how others express singular meanings. Lastly, another aspect that is given to the students is chances for negotiating turns to speak. So one thing that we can think about with these CAF dimensions is what Skihen talks about is a good yardstick. This is for gauging, describing, and benchmarking L2 production and development. Now, if we look at the three dimensions, complexity, accuracy, and fluency, these are part of the CAF, complexity, accuracy, and fluency. Complexity refers to grammatically complex and advanced structures that are being used in L2. Accuracy is the ability to produce target language that is free of any grammatical or other errors. And lastly, fluency, the extent to which target language production is continuous without comprehension difficulties or breakdown in communication. So here we have the three dimensions of complexity, accuracy, and fluency. Now let's look at tasks and CAF. Many studies of task-based second language performance use the three dimensions, complexity, accuracy, and fluency, to capture different aspects of second language performance. This has been throughout many years. Skihen and Foster in 1999 utilized three tasks, and these were personal information exchange, narratives, and decision-making. Their results indicated that planning is really an important part of these three areas, including accuracy. So planning is something that the teacher needs to think about. CAF measures can be used to better understand L2 performances in writing and speaking. Now, general research findings. Here we have task design characteristics encourage learners to direct their attention to different dimensions, but not the three at the same time. This is the complexity, accuracy, and fluency. A completion among the three dimensions, a further tension between complexity and accuracy. And so these three dimensions have different things going on between them. Finally, we have task and CAF. CAF measures are influenced by task-related factors, learners, the different factors of learners, and content-related factors, such as we've said before, the planning time, the topic, and instructional setting. One last is the role of task features and task conditions will influence the performance in terms of CAF.
Okay, the study consisted of a narrative task using WhatsApp as the main means to collect the data. This study took place during the pandemic of COVID-19, and it was done through the task repetition in order to measure fluency and accuracy. The aim of the study was to explore the use of WhatsApp as a platform to promote second language oral production because of the growing evidence which suggests that task repetition is beneficial for promoting learners' oral performance. This study examines the behavior of 7 learners' fluency and accuracy levels during a narrative task, which was repeated 4 times on WhatsApp. About the methodology, well, this study took place in the language department at a public university in central Mexico. There were 7 participants, all placed in intermediate level of an English class. We were interested in a narrative task, as narrative tasks are considered to be cognitively demanding. This took the form of a monologue. The narrative task, which was used for this study, was taken from a previous study. The narrative task involved 6 images, which follow a sequential series of images. The images show the story of 2 boys looking for shelter because it started to rain. The boys found a house which was haunted, and the study finishes showing the 2 boys finding out that they interacted with a ghost during the night they spent in the house. Considering these images, the participants were asked to narrate the story with their own words and without any planning. Previous research evidence suggests that narrative tasks are difficult to perform because they require processes to interpret visual input, retrieve vocabulary from long-term memory, and place it in the working memory. So students were asked to perform the task and they had to record the production via WhatsApp. About the data procedures, this was a narrative task following a task repetition design. We briefed the teacher about the purpose of the study and asked her to provide students, including those which were selected for the study, with instructions to perform the task. The participants were asked to perform the narrative task at weekly intervals as part of a monologue on WhatsApp. They recorded themselves and shared this via WhatsApp. We then processed the recordings. The data from the recordings sent to us every week, they were subject to coding. They went through a coding process for a number of fluency and accuracy measures. Also, for this study, we counted the total number of participants' syllables, meaning the unit of production, in their narratives, and then divided them by the total number of minutes. To measure accuracy, we consider a global measure of percentage of error-free clauses. After identifying the error-free clauses, we then calculated the percentages by counting the total number of error-free clauses and dividing the result number by the total number of clauses and multiplying the result by 100.
Great. Well, now it's time to present the results regarding the behavior of fluency and accuracy during the task. Wow. On the slide, you can see the behavior of fluency across the 4 sessions. It is interesting that the students had a fluency level which tended to increase as weeks went by, as you can see here in these lines. This can be seen if we compare the first and last session, right? What is also interesting is to see that in the second and third session, there was high fluctuation in terms of the fluency levels. You can see that the fluency levels were fluctuating. It is possible that in the process of getting familiar with a challenging task, the students were focusing their attention on different factors, which in turn had an impact on their fluency levels, as you can see here. This evidence then provides support to studies which have shown the dynamic nature of fluency in longitudinal perspectives. Well, things became more interesting when we looked at the behavior of accuracy during the performance of the narrative task. However, in general, we can see that that accuracy tended to decrease, and there is high variability in terms of accuracy levels. But a different scenario was seen in fluency in the first session, as you remember. But here you can see that that accuracy tended to decrease as the sessions went by. So in comparing the levels of fluency and accuracy, we can learn that there was a competition between fluency and accuracy. This means that during the performance of the narrative task, the learners tended to promote fluency over accuracy. An intriguing question is why the 2 dimensions were not promoted and developed simultaneously during the repetition of the narrative task in 4 sessions. All right, this is the summary of the results. As suggested by our evidence, the 2 dimensions tended to fluctuate significantly. Fluency steadily increased as the weeks went by, and it is possible that students are able to prioritize one dimension over the other one. And this was evidence in our data. However, this evidence also raises the question, what motivates students to prioritize one dimension only? As documented in previous studies, or evidence shows that there were trade-off effects between fluency and accuracy. Again, it would be interesting to know what motivated the competition between these two dimensions. Based on our evidence, we can just claim that task repetition could be beneficial for implementing tasks which are familiar to students, and also tasks that are less challenging in terms of cognitive demands. In our study, we were able to see how useful it was to use WhatsApp as a digital platform to encourage learner participation and oral production during the pandemic that we are facing currently. In terms of fluency and accuracy, the evidence showed the dynamic behavior of these dimensions over 4 weeks, during which the students had to repeat a narrative task on WhatsApp. It is possible that several factors came into play because it is claimed that accuracy and fluency can be influenced by task-related factors, learner-related factors, and context-related factors. Of course, we need more research on this to determine specifically the factors that are playing a significant role in the interaction between fluency and accuracy during challenging tasks. Considering this, I would like to return to the previous question and ask you the following. Can challenging tasks be useful for language performance and achievement? I think the answer is yes, but we need more evidence which shows the factors that are influencing the competition between accuracy and fluency. With this, we then would have a more accurate picture of students' performance and the factors that are relevant for their interlanguage. Now, this is just a selection of the reference that we use in the study and also in this presentation. And thank you very much.